Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia, who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending. This week on the show, the shockingly violent turn of events on Below Deck Down Under, the messy Real Housewives of Atlanta sex poster fallout, Mike's producer fight on Love Triangle, and more.
So, Australian Survivor. Let's start off by patting ourselves on the back.
Woohoo!
We said a whole 4 weeks ago in episode 3 of Receipt Roundup that we both thought Kaelen was going to go far and that he was playing a good game as he was so invisible. Well, we were right.
Yes.
He didn't exactly win, but, final two. Yeah. I think we're pretty good for getting to final two pick on that. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I also said I think Kaelen had a good shot at winning because he was smart and he wasn't seen as someone who was trying to control the game, so it wasn't a big threat. So well done us. And I also remember giving credit to Miles because he wasn't boring and was willing to make some big moves. So I am happy that he won in the end. And Sportsbet had predicted Miles was the winner a month ago, and I thought it was weird because he was at the bottom of the tribe at that time, and I didn't see how he was going to, get off the bottom. But long live the Jungle Rat. And he now has a line of Jungle Rat merch.
Oh, we should buy like a t-shirt or something. I might give it to my husband. I don't think I'd wear it. Or maybe my son or something. So he has Max to thank for giving him that derogatory nickname and being able to turn it into a positive and whole brand. Just like Jake calling Jackie on Maths crazy eyes, and now she's a cameo queen. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, right. So I am annoyed that it was a boys' club final 3. I thought Kaelen should have been voted out ages ago, but even though he's super cute. But if someone is dominating the individual immunity challenges and no one else has a chance at immunity, why would you keep them around?
Yeah, that was a bit of a faux pas. But actually, I didn't really mind a boys' club final 3. It had never been seen before. It was a bromance between Kaelen, AJ and Mars. I thought it was touching. You don't often see that with men on these shows. And I did actually get teary during the finale. Or, I don't know, maybe I was just menopausal.
Yeah, I mean, it was
crying.
it was sweet and touching. But I also don't understand why they kept AJ around. He called the shots and everyone else was just like his little minions. And Karen and Logan did try and get him out, so credit to them. But the girls should have formed an alliance so the boys didn't dominate the whole thing.
I think what happens, though, is that they always say they want to make big moves, but in reality, I think that's pretty scary, and it's better to let someone like an AJ make all the decisions and be the big noise while you hide. But the disadvantage is that they can then become too powerful and then they're like a steam train and it's too late and you can't catch them.
Yeah, which is what happened with AJ. And so last week we spoke about the mysterious disappearance of Olympic track star Morgan Mitchell, who made it to Final 6. Morgan left the show immediately after she was eliminated and was not on the jury, which was completely odd, and she got very little airtime. So we uncovered alleged rumors on the Australian Survivor Reddit thread that said she was unhappy with Ben, who also left mysteriously. And it was alleged on this thread from a supposed show source that Ben sang a racist song around a campfire one night and Morgan wasn't happy about it and struggled with producers from that point on. So, Fleur, have you uncovered anything more in this investigation?
Well, no. That's as far as my detective skills have gone at the moment. There's been crickets. Now that this show's over, I was wondering if more would be revealed, but there's really been nothing. And now the other mystery is, why isn't media covering this story at all? We don't really know if Ben or a campfire song or Morgan are connected in any way. So why not just ask Morgan to clear it up? Has anyone reached out for an interview? Is she gagged or what? Surely she'd be off contract now or soon. And even if she does have an exclusive interview plan, any outlet right now can always do a spoiler prior and just pose the questions, round up what's been said so far.
Yeah, I really find it annoying that they don't do a reunion show. Not that they would actually address this particular issue, but still. And Morgan herself said in an Instagram story that she went through a lot of BS on the show and that she'd have her say. So I guess we wait and see. Maybe she's just focusing on moving forward with her family and having twins.
Yeah, and she was the most famous person on the cast this year. She's a sporting celebrity. So what happened? If her overall experience was so awful, people want to know. So I just wanted to mention 4 weeks ago we did a reel on Instagram about how we both thought Kaelen would go far. And in full disclosure, the reel only got 40 views. Admittedly, it was in the early days of the podcast and the Instagram page. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe people aren't that interested in Kaelen or Survivor. However, a week ago, I put up an Instagram reel about the Morgan mystery, pointing to us discussing it in episode 6. That reel, which was unboosted, has now had more than 1,400 views. That is more than 9 hours of collective viewing on this 1 minute reel. People are obviously intrigued. Yes. Are we ever going to find out? I don't know. So on another note, how good did the ads for Survivor versus the World look?
Yes, the Aussie cast looks so good. There's a former Aussie Survivor winner, David Genat, who also just won U.S. Deal or No Deal Island, taking out $9 million, the most TV prize money in history.
Oh my God, $9 million.
I know. There's also Luke Toki, King George, and Janine Ellis from Boost Juice. But I have to say, David was interviewed by the Daily Mail just a few weeks ago, and he said he still hasn't received his millions, even though he won in August of last year.
Oh my God, that sucks.
It makes me wonder if Miles has his $500,000 yet.
Yeah, and I read somewhere with some shows they pay you in installments or whatever, but whatever it is, like, can we just get some cash? Like, you would be so dying for that money, wouldn't you?
Right.
And on the US team, there's Parvati, there's Tony Velachos, who was just on US Traders and got voted out early, plus Sari, who is also on another Traders. The rest of the cast I didn't recognise, though. Yeah,
so they're also casting for the new Survivor Australia now, FYI. And like every time I see that, I'm like, I would love to be on Survivor, but then I think I hate being cold, wet, hungry.
I cannot see you like on an island.
I'm too high maintenance.
Sitting in the sand.
I couldn't go without brushing my teeth for 40 days. That's like a month and a half.
Well, they use charcoal though.
And sticks.
Yeah.
No. Or go without a mirror. I think I'm much better suited to Traders, where I live in a castle and can wear cute outfits and sit around a round table and talk shit about people.
Yeah, well, my daughter, who is a Survivor superfan, really wants me to go on it. And I keep patiently explaining to her that I hate water. My brain is too old to strategize. And I am the person that has no idea what's going on, even during a game of Cluedo. So all of that, you know, that 222, 111 sort of number thing that AJ was talking about, I would have just nodded dumbly and said, okay, Mr. AJ, whatever you say, just tell me what to do.
So you would be a minion.
Yeah, I would be.
So, on to this week's Real Housewives segment. It's brought to you by Champagne Collective. If you're a Real Housewives fan, you will love Champagne Collective's champagne-inspired line of products.
They take real champagne bottles and upcycle them into beautiful candles made from an all-natural custom soy and coconut wax blend and feature wooden wicks. We know from viewing experience that candles play a big part in home decor, particularly in the Real Housewives of Potomac.
True. Who can forget Wendy versus Karen Huger in Wick War, where Karen insisted that La Dame candles with 3 wicks were far superior to Wendy's 1-wick candle for her On Ye Home Essentials line.
Oh, those candle wars were so funny. I will so miss Karen now that she's in jail.
I know, and Karen even went so far as to call Wendy a 1-wick wonder.
Champagne Collective is the OG of champagne candles and features all of your favourite brands like Moet and Veuve Clicquot. And if you're Mary Cosby from Salt Lake, you could even get a Dom Perignon candle. They also have vases made out of Magnum champagne bottles and fabulous ring for champagne bells. They are the perfect gift for someone who is hard to buy for.
Check out champagnecollective.com.au for a stylish and sustainable shopping experience. And even though we're talking about candles, please drink responsibly.
So this week in The Real Housewives of Atlanta, we finally got context about what this scandalous poster Kenya showed of Brit at her salon opening was about. Brit says that when she was a teenager, she allowed her boyfriend to film her whilst she was doing oral sex on him, and then she put it up on her webcam platform at some point. Firstly, I still firmly believe that Brit should have got suspended or fired as well for talking about guns in relation to Kenya.
Right.
However, this week, watching her confessional about the scene, I actually had tears in my eyes when she was crying and said she felt humiliated in front of the whole world. this was actually the second time I teared up after Survivor in the one night, crying about Atlanta. Oh my God, talk about menopausal. I think I need more meds.
I know, I was going to say, you and Kathy Hilton, we need to get you some HRT. So I also felt really bad watching Brit's reaction, and I can't imagine what it would be like having to explain what happened to your mother, to your friends, to your clients. And the incident happened in June. So now she has to relive it again now that the episode has just aired.
Yeah, that would have been awful to live through, like the horrendous shame.
And
Can't imagine.
She did appear on Watch What Happens Live to discuss the whole thing with Andy Cohen, who doesn't really seem to be holding her to account. And he said there was an investigation into the incident and that Brit did not, in fact, have a pistol on her during filming, so she was cleared of wrongdoing. What? Like, it seems like she's being held to a different standard.
Yeah.
And also, I have to say, I'm not sure what she was wearing on the show, but it looked like some kind of deer carcass, and her shoes looked like hooves.
They did. Do you know what it reminded me of? Like on Naked and Afraid, the wilderness show. When people get really cold in the bush, the producers sometimes come out and give them these old animal hides to wrap themselves around to keep themselves warm. Reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's like, was it hibachi or whatever that game is that they play, trash under fashion, whatever. It's like, yeah, that was horrible. And on top of that, her weird husband, Mike, was behind the bar. What the hell? It's like, this guy has zero personality and he's always lurking.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to just start calling him the lurker. And I don't understand why Andy seems to be showing her a lot of favoritism.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we understand a lot of what Andy does sometimes. Who knows? So producers have now said online that they had no clue about Kenya bringing out the posters, but I'm not so sure about that. I think maybe they gave Brit a heads up to leave, because if Kenya had done that whilst she was in the room, it just would have been so cruel, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and on Andy's radio show on Sirius Max with John Hill, John did say that he thought the poster was an act of sexual assault, publishing a sexual act without the person's consent, to which Kenya blasted on her Instagram, "The two co-hosts are extremely ignorant. Sexual assault is rape."
I actually think Kenya's the one who's ignorant, because there are many types of sexual assault. Like showing someone a dick pic, apparently that can now be classified as sexual assault if it's unsolicited, or someone grabbing you on the train. That's actually sexual assault as well.
Yeah, and Kenya also said that showing the poster was fair game because it was easily searchable, saying, "I found that, plus tons of others online. She signed a release for it, so it's a fair receipt." What? Huh? What does she mean Brit signed a release for it? When? I'm so confused with this whole thing. Can we please have more actual receipts, forensic sort of accountants and people going in and investigating? I mean, Brit also claims that she erased all the videos. I guess it just goes to show that if you're going to do something like that on the net, it's still likely to live on forever in some way. So please be careful.
For sure.
And then Kenya also has now said on social media that she's doing her own YouTube show called Confessionals in My Words. Starting from this week, there's been 2 million views on that post already, and she says she has a lot to say.
No.
Do we want to be listening to her for hours on end?
She's getting bad PR advice. She needs to put herself on pause and stop talking clip, as Dorinda would say, immediately. Yeah. Just shut up. I still hate watching this show. It's so trashy and over the top, like new money. I do love over the top money when it's Villa Rosa and Lisa Vanderpump and Swans. But buying your daughter 17 designer bags for her 17th birthday is vulgar. And Kelly wants to build generational wealth and make sure her 4 daughters are looked after. But I'm not sure what this kind of behavior teaches them. I think we need a Bethany Frankel money intervention here.
Bethany, another show needs your help. And can Kenya at least say sorry? She hasn't apologized.
That's the
yet,
first thing she needs to do.
Yeah. So just quickly mentioning the final reunion episode of Beverly Hills this week aired. We're not going to talk about it too much, as we did already discuss Garcelle leaving in depth in episode 6. However, my thoughts, having watched it now on her walking out at the end, was why didn't Andy and Sutton go and check on her in the dressing room afterwards? Although, to be honest, I wasn't really surprised that Sutton didn't go immediately, because I always thought that maybe their friendship was painted out to be something more than it was, simply because other cast members probably never wanted to film one-on-one with either of them.
Yeah, I always felt like Garcelle was always the one, chasing after Sutton, talking to Sutton's mom, being there for Sutton. And And I don't know if it was reciprocated. So.
Yeah. Also, Andy has now said that he had a long conversation with Garcelle prior to her doing Watch What Happens Live a few weeks ago, and said there was no hard feelings on her leaving, and that he also said, get back in touch with us in a year and let's see. I mean, I can't see her doing that and coming back. I do think maybe he just said that to be nice. You know, when you leave a job and people say, oh, don't be a stranger and all that. No.
Yeah. Well, I also heard that she was offered the second highest salary on the show to stay, but she said no, she wasn't going to return to the show as long as Kyle was still on the show.
Oh, my God. So why was that? What's her thing with Kyle? Oh, was it the Morgan thing?
Yeah, I just feel like she has, tried to, hold Kyle accountable and make Kyle talk about her personal life, and Kyle is, just held to a different standard, and I think Garcelle's just had enough.
Yeah.
So on to Summer House. We need to discuss Lesse, the Jesse and Lexi celebrity couple name mashup. Don't ask me why I am so invested in a 26-year-old's relationship. I know, but I
talk about it so much.
These two crazy kids. It's like, so apparently they've broken up according to Lexi's socials. But let's just go back a step for a second. It all started to go south when Lexi wasn't at the Summer House for one weekend because she was with her sick grandmother in Canada. And of course, Jesse immediately returned to F-boy behavior, because that's his default setting, which resulted in him spending 37 minutes in Orgy Beast Emerald's bedroom while he was having a threesome that briefly turned into a foursome. And both boys claim that the only thing that happened during this 37 minutes was that Jesse got his toe sucked.
Yeah, and the camera was covered, and all we have to go on is what the boys say, which is obviously sketchy because it is them. On top of that, he got very flirty with Ciara and said that things would have been different last summer if West hadn't called dibs and got to Ciara first. I mean, red flags just flying everywhere, right? So obviously Lexi finds out about both incidents and cries for 2 days. They have already decided to become exclusive at this point, even though they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. How is this working?
Yeah, I'm very confused. But Lexi also appeared on Watch What Happens Live, and it was very awkward. Andy never asked directly if they were still together, and she seemed to avoid any questions about the current status of their relationship. Fleur, didn't you find this appearance weird?
Well, I did, but, do you think that was deliberate? Because Bravo still want us to be invested in their relationship and keep watching. So therefore, they don't want to ask if she's still with him, because she did unfollow him on Instagram, right? So they have broken up.
Yeah, I think that is the case. But, they can't talk about it while the show is airing and all of that. But we also, I know you hate this, but we're going to have to talk about my girl crush, Paige.
Okay.
So once again, we're getting some insight into her side of the breakup, where she talks to Ciara about Craig wanting her to be a trad wife in Charleston and dim her light so Craig and his pillow empire can shine. So all women in relationships, please take note.
I did laugh in the episode when Paige said that out of her and Craig, she was the main breadwinner. But I do believe her, because they'd both be getting roughly the same amount for appearing on 2 different Bravo shows. And then she's done a Giggly Squad podcast tour, which was 60 dates long. But then the rest would just be from influencer deals. And so you're thinking, well, what's the big deal on the influencer deals? But she has more than 2 million Instagram followers plus 670,000 on TikTok, which is a lot collectively. I know some influencers here in Australia who only have around 270,000 Insta followers, and they earn more than $1 million a year purely due to Instagram. Influencer deals on Instagram. So there's big money if you are the right type of person, like a model or a celebrity or whatever. But I mean, there are some pretty unknown people doing Instagram deals as well, these big deals. So even though Craig owns his own pillow lifestyle brand, he's probably not getting as much as Paige. However, I did think it was shady that she even said that. And I know she's your girl, but ouch, that was bitchy. I mean, that would have stung Craig, especially as there's been a long-standing joke on Southern Charm that the men don't earn enough money to entice the kind of women that they want to date.
Yeah, I have to say, Paige, it feels like she's everywhere at the moment. She's absolutely crushing it. She was just on The Tonight Show with Hannah, and they hosted the Vanity Fair Oscar party red carpet. They just wrote a book together and are now on a book tour. Plus, she has lots of sponsored deals. She gets 15 to 20 grand per episode of Summer House. And then the Giggly Squad podcast, their tour that they just did that you mentioned, and merch. I'm sure there's more, but that's just what I thought of off the top of my head.
I still don't quite get it, though, because she's there's so many girls that have been on reality TV. Like, why is she the superstar? Summer House is not a huge show like Real Housewives. Why that girl from that show is now massive?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess she just resonates with the young kids, I don't know, and me, because I'm down with the kids. Anyway, so on to Love Triangle, which I am calling mini maths. So I did a spreadsheet. We have 5 couples on the show. So 3 of them are already just not that into each other. So we've got Bernie, the Portuguese tart, Jordan, the kids clown, and Mike, the toxic bachelor. And then we've also got Chloe and Back. They, I think, are a slow burn. They could go either way. So basically that leaves us with one couple, Ali and Nuri, who do want to rip each other's clothes off, which is good. So we've got one couple out of 5, and those figures are consistent with the mouth success rate.
Yes. Plus it is only episode 3, and I'm not even sure Ali and Nuri would be that into each other in real life. There's a definite chemistry vacuum on this show so far, I think.
So I thought the biggest shocker from this episode was Mike. So he goes out for this night walk and realizes when he comes back that Melinda is in her bedroom with the door shut, but she's talking to a producer from the show after production has wrapped for the day, and he immediately freaks out. So then there was this big argument because Mike saw the producer sitting on Melinda's bed, which he felt was crossing a line. And Melinda argued that the producer was just doing his job and checking on her welfare. And then things turned to crap, and Melinda ended up spending the night in a hotel. But the next day, she returned to discuss the incident with Mike. So this whole incident happened off camera. So we just have a he says, she says situation. And obviously, we believe Melinda. But this is where this is gold, because Melinda calls Mike a washed-up reality TV star.
Cruel.
I know. And then Mike says he has to be honest on camera because the audience trusts him. One word, delulu.
Okay.
I feel like Mike is on the show, to repair his reputation for maths and show he's changed, but I really think this leopard has not changed his spots.
Yeah, which is a little sad, because when I spoke to him at the Love Triangle launch a few weeks ago here in Sydney, he said that he'd learnt a lot from maths and was trying not to make the same mistakes. He looked me in the eyes and said that he was trying his very best. And Mike, I believed you. By the way, that chat with Mike is currently up on the podcast as a shallow dive, so check it out.
Yes.
Now, on to our rose and thorns for the week. And my rose is for Captain Jason from Below Deck Down Under. This is the second rose I've given him in a few weeks. Are you sensing a theme here?
I would give him a rose every week.
Yeah, perhaps I'm a fan. Captain Jason, will you accept this rose? But in all seriousness, something appalling played out over the last few episodes, and I do applaud Captain Jason for handling the situation professionally. Basically, yet another man in reality TV has punched a door in anger over something quite innocent a woman did, which is just shades of Paul on maths. Right, all over again, right?
Oh, God. And the deckhand in question is Johnny, who was having a fling with Alessia, the sous chef, and the two have been flirting, and it's been nice to see their blossoming boatmance.
It was, so it's all a bit sad. And in the episode before last, the crew go out on a night off, and Alessia says to Johnny, when we come back, can I come to your cabin and cuddle with you in your bunk? And they agree. Now, because he shares a cabin with the bosun Vihan, I don't realistically know how that would have worked. I mean, awkward, but anyway. But by the time they get back, everyone is very drunk. Vihan goes to bed and Johnny is somewhere else. We then see Alessia enter the cabin and quietly say, Johnny, I'm here. And it's pitch black. So you just see that night camera footage. And then she sees someone in the top bunk and crawls into it and accidentally ends up spooning with Vihan, thinking it's Johnny.
Yeah, so Vihan's woken up from a deep sleep and they're both mumbling and confused. And about 30 seconds after she gets into the bunk, just a hot minute, Johnny walks in, sees them together, then walks out, shocked and freaks out. And Alessia realizes she's actually in bed with Vihan, and she immediately runs after Johnny, apologizing.
Yeah, so then you see him come back into the room. The light's now on. Vihan also tries to explain, and then you suddenly see Johnny, who's always been quiet, just erupt and punch a cabinet door in anger. And then you see him ominously putting a shirt over the camera. I mean, why? Did he want to F Vihan up? Why was he going to do that with that shirt?
It was very menacing. And then you just hear this loud shouting. And the shouting is so loud that it wakes Captain Jason up. He comes in and takes the shirt down. And then Johnny, punches a wall near where Jason is standing. But however, Jason keeps his cool and just says, I'm going to put you in a hotel for the night and you can calm down.
Yeah, and then the next day, Johnny apologises to Jason, but Jason says he has no choice but to terminate him for an act of violence, and is also so nice, right? He was saying how hard he worked, he appreciated that, he wasn't judgmental, and that's in comparison to someone like Captain Lee or Captain Sandy Yawn, who tend to get really shitty about these situations.
Right.
Why does this keep happening on reality TV? Young men erupting into violence, scaring women around them for what? Over quite innocent things.
Right.
So we saw Paul in maths punching out a door when Karina told a funny story in a cab about sleeping with the rapper Quavo years ago. And I said before, he should have been delighted that he could even pull a chick hot enough to sleep with a famous rapper.
Absolutely.
And now Johnny on Below Deck Down Under punching a cabinet door over what was essentially quite a comical mishap.
Yeah.
Drunk Alessia accidentally getting into bed with Vihan, who's half his size, who nobody likes, for 30 seconds, thinking it was Johnny. It was a totally innocent mistake.
Yeah, and he just blew up. And I know I wouldn't want to be in a confined space with him. And he did threaten to sink the ship.
Yeah, and then they both him and Paul kind of used I was so drunk, I overreacted kind of defense. But if you are prone to violence and going batshit crazy when you're drunk, then don't get drunk.
Right.
Particularly if you're insecure and get jealous this easily, you've got a long way to go in life. Pull your head in. Plus, I can't believe what some of the idiots online are now saying about this. On reality site Screen Rant, a female writer said, firing him is a major overreaction. It was just a misunderstanding. Another female journo on Reality T I saw said, Johnny should be given a second chance and return next season because he acknowledges he messed up and would no doubt be presented in a gentler light.
No.
Are you serious? The only way to start changing toxic masculinity is to call men out on it as soon as they behave badly and not let things like this slide.
Yes, I totally agree. But there is some extremely exciting Below Deck Down Under news. So it's been announced that for the first time ever, Below Deck will do a crossover with a Real Housewives show. The cast of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City will be on the next season. So they're taping right now, and Mary and Angie posted a pic with Jason on board. I did look and do some research, but I can't figure out where they filmed it, but I do hope it's Australia. And in more exciting news, Daisy from Below Deck Sailing Yacht is Chief Stew. We love Daisy. And I'm so happy that she's away from Toxic Gary. And also cute Chef Ben is on board.
And because Gary's now being sued for sexual harassment or something by other crew members, production members, everyone. And also, I just wanted to add, there has been a lot of online scorn for Vihan as well for not jumping out of the bed sooner, and relief that he was fired by Jason for being an incompetent bosun, with many people saying he's the worst Below Deck cast member ever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because there would be a lot of contenders.
Yeah. But he was not good at all. So now on to the Rose and Thorn for the week. My Rose is a new show called Your Friends and Neighbors. It's a great new show on Apple Plus starring John Hamm, Olivia Munn, and Amanda Peet. And it's basically about a finance bro whose life falls apart. His best friend sleeps with his wife, then they get a divorce, and then he gets fired from his job. So he has no way to make an income because the company has put some kind of 2-year non-compete clause thing in place, don't know. But it's this classic midlife crisis stuff. And the twist is that he starts selling stuff from his friends and neighbors. At this point, it's watches and rolls of cash lying around. These people have FU level money. And so, they have so much stuff that they won't even miss a random $200,000 watch because they have so many watches and they probably forgot they bought it in the first place.
Can I just say that I once read a crime story, a real life crime story about some guy who was a young guy so rich that someone went into his house when he was away and stole 70 of his fashion shirts and business shirts.
Yeah.
And he had so many he didn't notice.
It's like bags, like how someone you probably wouldn't even notice. And so I love this show mainly because of Jon Hamm. He is RME, Rich Man Energy. This is the new term that we've coined.
Yes, we came up with this, everybody. So we got all the rights to this term. Clint from Maths gave us RME in real life when we met him.
Yes. So I may have to change my free pass.
Okay.
Because I say no one can wear a suit like Jon Hamm. He's so damn handsome. And of course, we always have the Hamaconda. Do you know what the Hamaconda is?
No.
Oh my God.
That?
Okay, if not, everyone needs to Google Jon Hamm.
I can deduce what it may be about, though.
Yes.
Google, you're saying
do yourself a favor. Google Jon Hamm gray sweatpants.
Oh, right. Okay.
And not only does he have RME, he has BDE. So let's just say he's the whole package. Pun intended.
I mean, are we talking Robert Irwin in the Bonds underwear sort of level hysteria here?
This is the top bar right here.
Next level. Okay. My thorn this week is for Denise Richards and her Wild Things. The debut season has just ended. And I'm going to crown Denise the queen of the deadly dull lunchtime dates.
Oh.
So early on, she met up with arch enemy Erica Jane from Beverly Hills to have it out with her regarding this ongoing feud. And Denise actually just ends up apologizing to her, and then they drink tea.
So boring.
Then she meets up with Kathy Hilton, who just talks about her grandkids. And then in the last episode, she meets up with ex-husband Charlie Sheen, which you would think would be good,
Yeah.
right? They go to lunch with her daughter Lola, who talks about how she's never gone on a date. And Charlie talks about carrots.
What?
He talks about carrots during the main course and carrots during the entree. And then Denise tells him that his neck looks really great as he's just had a neck lift, but his neck looks really saggy and wrinkly. No. So what on earth did it look like beforehand? Am I the only person who is bored beyond comprehension by this show? Do you have anything positive to say about it?
What has happened to the world when Charlie Sheen, who sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Charlie Sheen is boring.
About carrots.
Yeah, Denise Richards Bond girl, boring. But I have to say, I was so bored by this series, I stopped watching after 2 episodes.
Okay, so I was thinking maybe I am viewing it through the wrong lens. See, I like my reality TV spicy. I like watching high drama and fights because, funnily enough, I'm actually not a confrontational person. I don't like arguments in my own life, so I'm actually fascinated to see how other people argue. And then I was thinking, well, there are people who don't like watching arguments because maybe it's a trigger for them. So maybe they do like a show like Denise because it's very beige.
Bland.
And it's a bit almost like with Love, Megan. It's kind of soothing because it's calm and nothing much happens. Maybe there's a comfort to that after a hard day's at work. We see Denise do a photo shoot. She goes to the doctor with her daughter. She gives her husband a spray tan. I mean, it's just the day-to-day ordinariness of her life. And maybe I am just judging this too harshly.
Yeah.
Are you soothed by these types of beige, Better Homes and Gardens type of shows, Denise?
No, I need you to want confrontation because how are we ever going to get on Real Housewives if you don't love confrontation?
And I also looked up if there is a reason Charlie Sheen got a neck lift, and there is. He shot a trailer for a new comedy TV drama series called Ramble On, which is currently being shopped around the networks. You can go and look at it on YouTube. It stars the guys from Entourage, Kevin Dillon and Kevin Connolly as themselves, and they're looking to start a new podcast with Charlie, who also plays himself. And in this trailer, Kevin Connolly is seen saying to someone, "If the pod pops, the money will flow," which I think we should adopt as the mantra for So Many Receipts podcast.
I think so.
I'm going to laminate. I'm going to laminate that in huge letters at Officeworks and stick that above my bed.
I think we need a neon sign. Yeah. So my thorn for this week is the Blue Origin all-female space flight. So, okay, let's talk about this for a minute. This is some rich people, tone-deaf bullshit, if you ask me. So the economy is tanking in the U.S. and the world. So we have 6 wealthy women who got their glam on and blasted off into space light. So taking part in this trip were Lauren Sanchez, Gayle King, Katy Perry, a filmmaker, a civil rights activist, and a real NASA astronaut. And Gayle has been talking about this extensively on CBS Mornings, the U.S. breakfast talk show that she hosts. And this show actually does air in Australia at 10 on Channel 10 every morning at 4:30 a.m.
I actually had no idea you could watch Gayle King in Australia. And I also didn't even know she was being blasted into space. space. Oh my God. I wonder what was more startling, the fact that she's on at 4:30 on the morning here, or that she was actually in a rocket. I mean, I wonder if Oprah, her best friend, was jealous.
Well, so I actually read that Oprah convinced Gail to do it because Gail was terrified and originally said no. And Oprah said, if you don't do it, you'll regret it. So she ended up going.
Okay.
And so this rocket, it's owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, who is Lauren Sanchez's fiance. And they flew to the Kármán line, which is the boundary separating Earth's atmosphere and space. And the entire journey, this hyped up thing, only lasted a total of 11 minutes. And Blue Origin called the women trailblazers and history makers for being its first all-female flight crew. They got an Elle magazine cover for this. Yeah, there was a whole section devoted to their space looks. Lauren helped design their custom suits and made sure they had a little spice, and also confirmed that they each had a glam team, saying who would not get glam before the flight. Okay, if I was going into space, I would get glam too, so I can't falter too much. But then Katy Perry added that they were going to put the ass in astronaut.
This is also trashy. Outfits, jokes. I think it would have been funny if they'd put a Real Housewives in space, like Sutton from Beverly Hills. People would have been outraged. Okay, I get it, but it would have been funny.
Yeah, so I have some beef with this whole thing. Number one, I wouldn't exactly call them crew. They were passengers. They weren't working or doing experiments. They just buckled their seatbelts. I also wouldn't call them
hard work,
exactly.
Buckling a seatbelt,
and sitting there. I also wouldn't call them trailblazers. Anyone can go to the Kármán line if you have enough money. So the company doesn't provide details on the exact price of a space ticket, but a similar flight on Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic is around $450,000, so $500,000.
Yeah.
But of course, Jeff footed the bill for everyone in the name of PR.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
No, well, it's not a win for women, right?
Well, I also say it's not, because a true trailblazer is Sunny Williams, the real astronaut who was stuck on the International Space Station for 286 days. That bitch is a legend.
So when you say stuck, like how long was she supposed to be on it for?
I think they were meant to be there for a week.
Oh, God.
And then they couldn't figure out how to get them back. And they were stuck there for 286 days.
So it was her and a male astronaut. Like, I hope they were good friends or became good friends.
I know. And thank God that, Elon Musk went and got him or whatever, and they got back safely. But still, that's the true trailblazer.
Yeah.
And so when Katy returned, she passionately was photographed kissing the ground and the earth, saying, "We must protect our Mother Earth fiercely."
Does she maybe have a song coming out about this?
Well, no, she's got a tour, and they released her playlist and everything. So all of this is to promote her tour.
Oh, how predictable!
Yeah,
is
it's
this?
just so whatever.
Yeah.
So she's saying, I'm this fierce protector of Mother Earth, but I could go into all the details about carbon emissions. And granted, I did do some research. Blue Origin is much better than some of the other spaceflight companies, but these flights aren't exactly environmentally friendly. And all of the money, the $500,000 per ticket, you could have donated that money to getting abortion rights for women, back in America, or something significant. Don't waste it on this astronaut cosplay.
Yeah, well, Katy Perry loves a cosplay. I mean, I've seen one of her songs. I can't remember what it is, but she's in a astronaut thing, or she's in outer space, or she's on a UFO or something. Maybe that had something to do with her choice. I mean, I actually question the relevance of Katy Perry being chosen.
Yeah.
She's not really on the radar anymore. And I was thinking maybe they asked some other more, relevant celebs, and they were all too scared to go in case they never came back. I mean, I would be too scared to do it. I mean, I've got those rocket ships blowing up to smithereens from years gone by burnt into my brain.
Yeah, well, I'm terrified of normal turbulence on a flight, so I'm out.
Okay, so I guess we're not going up anytime soon. Yeah, don't call us, Jeff. Okay, so that is it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
Join us next week for So Many Receipts.